Today we're going to talk about that little voice in your head. You know, the one that says, you can't do this, you're not good enough, you can't handle this. That one. Most people will tell you to silence your inner critic, to shove it in the corner and ignore it. Well, what if I tell you that that's exactly the wrong thing to do? Science shows that the real secret isn't fighting your inner critic, it's befriending it. Hey everyone, this is Tans. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how you can turn that voice from your harshest enemy into your biggest ally, and I've got the research to prove it. The inner critic isn't some random cruel voice. It's actually a part of your brain's defense system. The inner critic is linked to your amygdala, the part of the brain that's responsible for processing fears and threats. Research from the University of California shows that when we perceive failure, rejection, or embarrassment, our brain treats it like a physical threat. This triggers a fight or flight response, leading to self-critical thoughts. But that's not all. Studies in neuroscience reveal that the default mode network, the part of the brain that's responsible for self-referential thinking, actually lights up during moments of self-doubt. It's like your brain goes into overdrive, analyzing every mistake that you've ever made. But here's the catch. If you try to suppress it or ignore it, it only gets louder. A study from Harvard shows that when participants tried to suppress their negative thoughts, those thoughts actually became more persistent. So what's the better approach? You befriend the voice rather than silencing it, and here's how. Step 1. Recognize the inner critic. Recognize that the critic isn't you, it's just the part of your brain trying to keep you safe. This concept comes from internal family systems therapy, a psychological framework that sees your brain as a collection of parts with unique roles. Give your inner critic a name and a personality. Why? Studies show that this type of psychological distancing, in which you remove yourself from your inner thoughts, reduces emotional reactivity. So my inner critic is called Tasha. What's yours? Let me know in the comments below. A 2014 study published in Psychological Science found that when participants used third-person self-talk, such as, what would Tasha do? Instead of, what should I do? It helped reduce emotional stress and helped them make more rational decisions. So the next time you hear, you're going to fail. Instead of spiraling, just think to yourself, oh, that's just Debbie, my overly dramatic inner critic. Name it, observe it, and realize it's not you. It's just a voice. Step 2, rewrite the script. Your inner critic loves to catastrophize, blow small things way out of proportion. But did you know that your brain is actually wired for this negativity? According to a study from the National Institute of Aging, the human brain has a negative bias, meaning we're way more likely to focus on negative experiences than positive ones. It's evolutionary. It's what keeps us alive. But in today's world, this bias works against us. So here's how you can fix it. Number 1, write down the exact criticism that your brain is saying. Don't censor it. Get it all out. Number 2, challenge it with facts. Ask yourself, is this 100% true, or am I assuming the worst? And number 3, reframe it into something constructive. For example, if you hear that inner voice telling you, you'll never succeed, reframe it. Tell yourself, I've succeeded in other things before. I just need to take that first step. This technique, called cognitive restructuring, is the foundation for cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most effective methods for reducing anxiety and self-doubt. Studies show that people who respond to self-doubt with curiosity rather than judgment experience less stress and greater problem-solving activity. So instead of letting the inner critic shut you down, ask it questions. If it says, you're not prepared for this interview, respond with, okay, what do I need to do to feel more prepared? This is rooted in the self-distancing theory from the University of Chicago. When you engage with your thoughts constructively, you activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational problem-solving activity, thus reducing emotional overwhelm. Build actionable habits. Now that you've named your inner critic and befriended it, let's make it a habit. Here are 3 actionable steps. Number 1, daily debrief. At the end of each day, write down one thing that your inner critic said and how you responded. Journaling in this way has been shown to improve emotional processing and provide clarity. Number 2, self-affirmations. Self-affirmations can reduce stress by reaffirming your core values. Write down 3 affirmations that you can use whenever you hear your inner critic getting loud. Number 3, mindfulness practice. Mindfulness actually trains your brain to observe thoughts without attaching to them. Remember the default mode network, the part of your brain tied to self-criticism? Studies from Johns Hopkins show that mindfulness actually reduces activity in the default mode network. When you stop fighting your inner critic and actually start working with it, everything changes. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, practice these steps. Studies show that self-compassion, not self-judgment, is the real driver for success and resilience. Name your inner critic, reframe its words, and coach yourself to take action. And when you do, come back here, leave me a comment, and let me know how it went. Let's start a conversation, because the next time your inner critic says, "You can't do this," you'll be ready to say, "Actually, I can." Remember, your inner critic isn't your enemy. It's just waiting to be transformed. Let's rewrite your story starting now. Peace and love. See you in the next video.